What's gaming, y'all? I'm Ryan, and welcome to the board game journey, where you will be joining me to play 1,000 games. Now, we recently added 15 games to our journal, shaboom! And then today we are adding 3 more. And these are going to be head-to-head, 2-player only showdowns. Growing up, I thought you had to have between 4 and 6 players to have fun. You know, playing at just 2 players just didn't even compute to me. But what I didn't realize now is my games of the past, they lack like critical decisions, depth, and like the tension that these games deliver. I will say up front that I enjoyed all 3 of today's games because they all feel different. So let's get into it. First up is the lightest of the 3 games, the Architects of Amytis. Now, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. I went online before this just to sound smart. I looked up 5 different people, say it 5 different ways. I even asked AI, and AI said Amytis. But I've been saying Amytis this whole time. So I don't know which one's correct, but we'll go with Amytis for now. But hey, I love to be corrected. So go down in the comments and let me know how you say it. Of all the games I purchased in my collection, this is probably the one I knew least about. I typically do research on Board Game Geek or watch YouTube videos, but when I saw this on the shelf at Barnes & Noble, my quick online search returned almost no results. I guess it just hadn't been widely released yet. But I looked at the back of the box and I saw it involved like a puzzly tile placement, which I'm into. So I took a gamble and I bought it. A quick overview of the goal of the game is you are competing architects trying to build the best city for the Queen of Amytis. You do that by taking these tiles from the main board and placing them on your personal board. Now these tiles represent buildings, so whoever can lay them out the best will score the most points and win the game. The game breaks down into 3 decision points. First is taking these building tiles from the main board and then adding them to your personal board, with the goal of trying to match these goal cards right here. Now this one says if I can have 2 orange and 2 blue side by side. Now the orientation doesn't matter, so I can turn it this way where they're above and below. But as long as I have that combination on my personal board, I would earn, in this case, 10 points. Second is the instant action of each building type. There's 6 in total, a different kind of buildings. So each time you put one of them onto your board, it will activate an instant scoring action. For instance, if I took this one right here, which is the wall, if I place this tile anywhere on the perimeter of my personal board, it will score me 2 points. But I also score 2 points for every other wall on the board. So if I put it here, I would get 2 points per this card. I'll go ahead and put it here so you guys can see it. Now, this is interesting because now, yeah, you have to kind of consider how these marry up. So the first one is you're trying to build a certain pattern, you know, that you have a gold card. So now it's like, well, can you double up? I think this is where the efficiency really comes into play. You know, can you get the pattern, but also, maximize the points of the instant actions each building has? The third thing you need to consider playing the game is how you get the tokens off the main board onto your board. So you do by taking your architects and putting them on top of something. And then you can take that tile, and now that is blocked from the opponent. So then they can go next somewhere else, and they get that tile, and that goes on their board. And then this continues on. But if one of you can manage to get, say, a tic-tac-toe, you get 3 in a row. Now that could be diagonally or any which way. As long as there's 3 in a row, then you can place one of your little tokens here onto this like alternative scoring board. So this will be end of the game scoring. Just to give you a summary of what some of these are. So if I was to put this here, I could score 4 points per stack of 3 on my board. So one thing to keep in mind is as you play this game, as you put more tiles on here, you can then stack over tiles already there. So this bonus scoring board says, hey, if every pile of 3 I have, I'll score additional 4 points. So this is another thing to consider. So when you're putting your architects on the board, there'll be a lot of times where you're like, wow, I really want this tile, but is it worth giving them the 3 in a row to then maybe get some bonus scoring? So there's always that kind of tension you have to kind of get through. Okay, it's my turn. I'm playing gray. What's the play? So I have a lot to consider on this next turn. I really want to get one of these green tiles because my current kind of gold cards, my build cards, I'll go ahead and show them here on the screen so you can see it, is I can get this first one because I have these 3 pinks in this L formation. And if I just put a green one here, in this case right here, I can get 10 points. And then if I just put 1 blue one there on top of that, on my next turn, I'll get the other 10 points. So, just 2 turns to get 20 points is pretty good. But, of course, nothing's for free. To get one of these green ones, I would have to to get both on 1 turn at least. I mean, I can get one of them. I would have to not block this person from getting to that toe. Or getting 3 in a row. I just call it tic-tac-toe because I grew up playing a little bit of that game. So do I block them here, or I potentially could get both of these on this turn? So I kind of feel like I need to go for the 20 points and maybe just let them risk them getting some extra points. So in this case, I think now which green do I take first? Now I take the wall, but unfortunately the wall goes in the middle. It's not going to score me any points. Remember, the wall only scores me points on the outside. It would be nice because I already have 2 walls here, so that would be 6 points. But the other one, in this case, this is the garden. The garden scores for, if I put it here, we'll just do that for my turn. I will score 1 point for every section that has 2 tiles tall. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll score 4 points right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad. But the nice part is I now immediately score this one. So that goes into my pile. I already have a bunch of them. Got a lot of points. And then, but now I will need 1 more tile to complete the next turn. So they would go, let's say they go for the tit-tat-toe. They get this tile, right? They put it somewhere on the board. I don't know what they're going for. They put it somewhere. But now since they got King's Favor, they call that when you get 3 in a row, King's Favor, they can go here. Now they already have 1 here that gives them 4 points. So if they get 2 on there, it goes to 10. So now they get 10 points. If they get a third one, they'll get 18 and so on and so forth. Now there's different scoring criteria. It really depends on like what you're maximizing here is probably what you want to go for here. So to complete my turn, they just went there. I can now take this blue one here. Now this blue one also gives me another gold card. Just so you know, these are called the palaces. The palaces also give you another gold card from like a central bank. But I can put this here, and now I have blue, blue, pink, pink, and I go ahead and score this other 10 points. Good turn. There are a lot of avenues to consider when playing this game. Now, I have taught a few people who've never played before, and I noticed they pick it up pretty quick. The thing they struggle with most is just learning the 6 building types and the instant action they get. That just takes a little time because there's 6 different things to learn. Like, what does this building do? What does this building do? So once you get past that, it's pretty simple. The whole pattern making thing, everyone picks up on that like right away. And like a nice little like, I guess, deeper tactic that people do is, you have your gold cards that you have, but there's always a bank that you can get every time you get a palace. So sometimes if you know you're about to get a palace, you can go ahead and look ahead and maybe start optimizing to get a card that's already here. So maybe I have a tile I don't have a need for yet, but I can go ahead and start optimizing the placement in case I get one of these other cards. So this is something else to consider, which is kind of fun. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about this game overall. I probably played it maybe 6 times with 2 or 3 different people. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. I like it. I don't know why. I feel like I should like it more. Maybe I just got to play with the same people over and over again. That way it just feels like I'm not teaching the whole time. But right now, I enjoy it. I think it has that purpose where I want to play something that's slightly more complicated, but I can't bust out one of my more intense games, or even the other games on this list today. So this is a good way to get people into this kind of thinking. So then you can maybe play another game like Kuiperium or Flatiron. Next up is Kuiperium. Now I saw this game advertised as 2 space enterprises fighting over a common resource. Now I love space, so super interested. But I was a little concerned because I heard there was some take that in this game. Now, for those who don't know, take that is like essentially when you're mean to someone. So like you spent hours building this beautiful sandcastle and then someone kicks it over, right? Now, with that said, I did hear other reviewers say that they felt that the take that was well balanced. So I was a little bit intrigued, so I went ahead and bought it anyways. And so let's get into it. Kuiperium is a race. You start here at the start part, go figures. And you race down this track until the first person reaches the end. You get there first, you win the game. Pretty simple, right? Okay, maybe there's a lot of stuff that goes on along the way to get there, but let's get into that now. On your turn, you can choose 1 of 5 actions, but the meat of the game really boils down to placing one of your cards onto your side of the player board. So this is the main board, and half of it will be like my side, and half will be my opponent's side. So if I play this card here, for instance, that's just a move I can do. Each time you play a card, you activate this, this central section. I'll show you right here. You actually event this little middle section. It's an instant action. So you get that right away. But what makes this game interesting is you also have these workers that you place out on the board. Now you can only place these on your opponent's cards. So this might give me an instant action, which you'll see here, but it allows my opponent to earn a Kuiperium and destroy one of my Kuiperium. So there's always that drawback. So each card you're always trying to weigh the benefit of like, okay, what does it give me? But more importantly, what does it give my opponent, going forward? So being a race, a lot of your attention can be on this board here. Like, how do you move up this board? Well, it breaks down to earning what they call in this game discovery points. So every time you earn, at least in this case, if there's one here, if I earn one discovery point, I can move my guy up one. Getting one discovery point, super simple. It's when you want to get 3 or 4 or 5, very difficult. You have to work for those. So how do you get discovery points? Well, getting one, like I said, is pretty easy. Some of these cards you put out will have a discovery point on them. So if you put your worker on it, and then when you take the worker back, you earn that discovery point, and you can move up the one track, right? Now, those aren't additive. So if you have 2 workers out, 2 robots, and they're each on, say, 1 discovery point, well, you can't add them up. So it's not like you can't take 1 and 1 equals 2. You kind of like, you complete each worker's complete action before you move on. So in this case, if I need to get a 3 to get to this next spot, I need to find a way to earn 3 in 1 move. So that's where the other main part of the game is called getting synergies. So on the board right now, I just set up a small example. So all these cards, you notice they'll have, let me just put on the board here, right here. So you can see this card, which is called teleportation device. So it has 2 black corners. We'll ignore that for now. But what is more important is the blue and yellow corner, right on the board right there. So part of this game is you can jettison that card. You can get rid of it. And when you jettison it, you earn what they call synergy. So in this case, I have a blue here. So I'll say that's blue. It matches this blue corner here. Now, if these other 2 corners are blue, that would earn me additional synergy. So right now, this blue is earning me 1 synergy. So now I come into this yellow corner here, and it's touching 2 other corners that are yellow. So that's 2 more synergy. So in total, if I were to jettison this card, I would earn 3 synergy, and that will allow me to move on to this 3 space. So with that example, you can see how you could earn more than 3 synergy. I think if you just did the math, if you could earn 3 per corner, that would be 12 potential synergy you can earn. Now, in my few games, I would maybe say 5, 6 was the max we ever achieved, mainly because of the take that we haven't got into yet. So throughout Kuiperium, you're just playing a lot of these cards. Now, most of them give you different actions that help you, but some of them definitely attack your opponent directly. Those attacks might be somewhat innocent, like you might be taking their Kuiperium. So for instance, if I need to do that synergy move we talked about, where I have to go to the control center with one of my workers, and I have to be able to, when I take the worker back, I have to be able to pay 4 Kuiperium. So if I only have 4 Kuiperium right now, like which I do, if my opponent takes one of my Kuiperium before I can do that move, well, then I can't do this. So that's obviously something to consider. I have to go, okay, I need to do this move. Maybe I need to have 5 or 6 Kuiperium before I do this, just in case he takes a couple away. I know I'm still good. Or it's a timing thing where I can put up to 3 workers out there, right, and recall them back. Now there's bonuses for doing all 3, but it takes a long time to do that. But you can't just put 1 out and immediately recall it and do the action. So it's always weighing that benefit of like, okay, how many workers want to go out with? Is he able to stop me? And vice versa. I'm looking at his going, okay, he has a really good synergy. I might need to move something to kind of sabotage him, to slow him down a little bit. And that's the big one. I just said it right there, to sabotage. So I might be building up this whole beautiful synergy, and he might be able to play a card that lets him move one of my cards to another location. Admittedly, that one does hurt a little bit. So that said, it can be mean, but I feel like if you play it fast and quick, it's like, okay, I take one of his Kuiperium, he takes one of my Kuiperium. Okay, maybe I can't build up that perfect 12 synergy. Right? I have to just settle for 4 to get me up the track a little bit further faster, right? Before he can do some kind of sabotage, right? So that's what I kind of like about the game, where it definitely can be mean, not for everybody. So if you don't like any direct confrontation, do not get this game, because there's some direct. But I do like games where you can at least, you're not defenseless. It's not like some games you play where it's just mean for mean's sake, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Where here, playing my one buddy, who honestly beats me every time I play, and he has he doesn't like the game particularly because he has a lot of AP, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But he does a really good job at building up his cards so that even if I take away one of his cards or try to sabotage him, it doesn't hurt him that much. Maybe instead of getting 8 synergy, he gets 6 synergy or 5. So he's still doing really well. So that's what I like about the game. It can be mean, so I can understand the balancedness of it. but you can plan appropriately and still do well. And it's not always in your best interest to be mean, because that's taking one of your turns away. Remember, you only have, on your turn, you can only do one of 5 things. So to take one of your valuable turns to do something mean, sometimes it's not always worth it. Because I noticed in my first game playing this is there's a point where, maybe I was falling behind a little bit, so I started to play too much defense. But then I felt like I was just always on defense, and he kept just pulling ahead. So I need to also just focus more on my board. So yeah, you can be mean, but sometimes it's just not worth the time it takes to do it. So that's what I like too. It's like, it's not just completely satisfying. Haha, I got you. It's like, okay, well, I got you, but I also kind of hurt myself a little bit too, because I slowed down some of my momentum. Okay, it's my turn. I'm playing orange. What rise is orange? Yeah, I'll just take my turn. So just give you a situation check. I am trying to jettison this card right here. And so I have a guy on my control center, which is just part of the move. You had to put him on the control center before you can do the jettison move. And you also need 4 Kuiperium, which I do have. I went ahead and put a worker out here on this card, which will earn me 2 Kuiperium. I'm doing this because I don't know if they're going to destroy some of my Kuiperium, so I need 4. So this is like a little insurance policy where I know I can at least get 2 more. And now I got to decide, do I go ahead and jettison the card now, or do I put another worker out there? This is like the... I mean, I could play another card if I want to, or, there's a lot to consider. And there's a few other things I haven't gone through. Maybe at the end, we'll just quickly go through the other actions, just so you know a full, scope of the game. But currently, I am behind. I'm behind. Opponent. I need to get 1, 4, 5. I need at least 5 to catch up. Lucky for me, this card will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I have the blue one here in this corner. And that would give me 3, it's touching 3 other blues. So that would give me 3 synergy. Now this one's a yellow corner and it's touching 2 other yellow corners. That would give me 2 more, so that'd be 5. Now these black corners are like dead spots. They're there just to kind of mess with you a little bit. They don't give you anything, so you kind of have to work around those. Those can't be used for synergy. So yeah. So I think what I'll do is, I think I'll skip doing my worker. I could put it out there and get something else, but I think I just want to catch up at this point. So I will go ahead and, activate. I would return this guy back. That would earn me 2 more Kuiperium. And I'll return my control center back. I will pay the 4 Kuiperium. And that will let me jettison this card. And that will give me 5 synergy, which will catch me up, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we are tied once again. Overall, I really do enjoy this game. I never played a game quite like it where, yeah, you could be mean, but I do feel like there's ways to get around it. But it can get personal at times. You build something really beautiful, like you're building this beautiful sandcastle, like I said earlier, and someone knocks it down. You're like, oh, but why? I spent so long making it. But, I can think back and be like, yeah, but I probably should have cashed in sooner, right? I shouldn't went as long. So you learn that you got to be sometimes a bit quicker. You can't make the perfect thing. You got to be able to, just to move ahead, right? My only challenge is I don't know who I'm going to play this game with. My one true gaming buddy has extreme analysis paralysis. Some games I think are pretty complicated. It just aligns with his thinking. So he can just fly by, no problem. He just can make decisions pretty quickly. This game, I think because there's just so many cards, and each of them, they're similar, but each of them has different, you can do this, you can do that. You have all these different options. And you're trying to balance, building the synergies, and you got to look at what I'm doing and, okay, well, how far. So there's a lot to consider on your moves, right? And I think that just, it broke him. Yeah, he ended up winning the game, and at the end, he's like, I won, but I have no satisfaction from the win. Because you could tell, this is advertised as a 40-minute game, but I think our first game went like 2.5 hours. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody. I typically play games light. I can go deep, but I just choose not to, right? I love playing abstract games like chess or Yinch or all those different gift games, but I try to keep the surface, I try to keep the high level thinking, because I know if I go deep, it's just going to cause me a lot of anxiety, right? So for this game, I typically just come up with what I find okay, this is my goal, and I just want to keep trying to do that, and if he gets in my way, I'll try to pivot. But with him, he just tries to consider every possibility. Okay, what can Ryan, what could I do to mess it up? How can he pivot? Which is good, a good way to play it, but it definitely takes it from a 40-minute game as advertised to a very much longer game. Now, I don't know if 40 minutes is reasonable. It's probably an hour plus. It's probably an hour game, maybe 90 minutes if you're playing it with some initiative, but or maybe not. Maybe we're just playing it wrong. I don't think that. Next up is Flatiron. To sum this game up simply, you are architects competing to build the Flatiron building one floor at a time, racing to get points along the way. Each player takes turns going to 1 of 5 available spots and taking an action. Now, when I was teaching this game to my friend, I kept calling it worker placement, but after a little bit of research online for this video, I saw other people calling it worker movement. To me, they sound very similar on the surface, but I now know it is definitely worker movement because your architect starts on the board and they move around to different available spots. So, cue the rainbow, right? Woo. So I'll just give you a quick breakdown of how the game looks on the table. It can be a lot, so let's just kind of break it down into sections. So in front of you, you're gonna have your personal player board here, and you'll be adding cards above and below it. We'll get to how in a second. In the middle of you and your opponent is the kind of like the street board. So there's 4 streets on here you can visit, and you can take an action. You can either take a card by buying it, paying the cost in the corner, or you can just take $2 anywhere you go. And the last action you can do is you can activate your personal engine on your player board. We'll get to that in a second. So let's just give you a quick overview of how the game looks on the table. It could be a lot, so let's just break it down to sections. Starting with the easiest, over here is just a score tracker. And then there's another element with this newspaper guide we'll get into in a little bit, but essentially this is how you keep your score. In the middle of you and your opponent is the main kind of board where you're gonna be building up the Flatiron building kind of 1 floor at a time. Also, this is where you can move your little worker bees to different streets. There's 4 here, and then the 5th location you can go to is City Hall. When you go to one of those locations, you can activate, let's say, 1 to 3 actions. In front of you is your personal board. Here is when you buy cards, you can tuck them either below, if you're below or above your personal player board. We'll get into more of that in a second. And you can also purchase city cards. And that's really it. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 main parts of the board going on. Like I said earlier, the main objective of the game is to build this building up. You do so by placing these pillars onto the building and then by placing the next floor. So it's kind of fun because you are literally building up this building kind of like this 3-dimensional space, which is awesome. So something different. You get your 2D normal board game world, plus you get this cool like 3D thing going on here. So it's fun to play. The other core piece of the game is the main player board here. So to not get too far in the weeds, because there's a lot of little things going on in this game. So I'll just try to keep it pretty high level for this video. But essentially you can move your character to a spot that's not taken. And a lot of times you can buy a card. In this case, it costs you $2. So I can pay $2 to buy this card. Now, since this is a Broadway card, it has to go to the Broadway location. Now I can put it on top like this, or I could put it on bottom. It really determines, what determines which one you choose is what you feel like you need more of. Because in this game, which I find, pretty cool, it makes it different from the other ones, is you're building this little mini engine here that you can activate, in 4 different segments. What I mean by that is as you add cards, now you can only add 3 cards in each location. So for instance, in my 23rd Street right here, I have 2 cards. So I can add 1 more card max, right? And then when I run the engine, if I have 1 more card here, say I had it tucked under, now I can activate each one. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 different things I can activate. Now those things include like maybe swapping out pillars, or maybe putting the floor on, maybe adding a floor, or just many other action, or activating City Hall. That's the thing. The game really comes down to like, what cards do you, what part of the card you activating, and so on and so forth. Another neat part of the game, you can definitely have some combos, like depending on what you do here, maybe you can place, a white pillar there that lets you get additional points, or maybe lets you take another action, right? So depending on how you lay out your engine and how you're placing your pillars, you definitely can get a lot more on 1 turn. Okay, it's my turn. I'm playing green. Let's trace this win like a dream. Okay, I'm really missing blue. These games have a lot of interesting color choices besides my normal blue. Bring back blue! So I'm gonna keep my turn fairly simple because there is a lot to consider here. So for my turn, I think my goal is to get a pillar in this last spot and to maybe get a roof on top, because roofs give you a lot of points. They're like 6 points in this game. So that's a lot of points to move up. Now you can never have the same color pillar on 1 floor. So I couldn't repeat blue and orange, except each floor will always come up with like a game breaking thing, right? Maybe sometimes the floors let the workers be in the same spot. Typically you can't be in the same spot, but ping on the floor that comes up, those are like almost game-breaking type things that kind of are exceptions to the rule. So in this case, this floor says I can have the same color pillars on here, which is good news for me because there's already a blue on there now, and I want to put a blue one on there to get more points. Because if I put one of my, see that brown or orange one on there, it's just not going to be as, it'll be 1, 2 points versus my 4 points. So you see what I want to do. So I think on my turn, I'm going to go to this 23rd Street and activate my little mini 23rd Street engine here. Now that's going to give me an extra coin. So that give me an extra coin. I already took that. And now I can work my way down here. Now it says, hey, I can place a pillar for 1 coin. So I could pay a coin. Now I can place any pillar I want, but I will place my blue one because for 2 reasons. A, I can, normally I couldn't do that. But also it's gonna give me the most points because I get 2 points for just placing it on this spot in this turn. And those little icons where you put the pillars, there are different bonuses for every floor. So in this case, it's 2 points. Plus, I'll get the 4 points for the blue. So I can move up the track 6 points there. And then I could swap a pillar for another pillar. So in this case, I might as well swap, say, this brown one for a white one, right? So that way I'm kind of upgrading from 1 point to 3 points for a future turn. And then lastly, I can pay $3, right? And since I have 3 pillars on here, once there's 3, I can pay, and I can put the next floor on top of here. And that will score me. Now, unfortunately, since I did pay 3 instead of the typical 5, this card, it only gives me 4 points, but still I can move up the track 4 points. Now I've only played Flatiron once, so I definitely want to play it more. My first time was a pretty satisfying experience. I think because you're just building something. I lost my first game, but I still had fun. I don't think I lost by much. I think I had a different strategy where I was behind a lot because I was focused on these City Hall cards a lot, and they don't really score to the end. So it looked like I was far behind, but then last second I was able to zoom very close, and I got lost by a few points. There is no direct take that in this game. Now there is like some, I would say, innocent blocking. Like for instance, if I'm at 23rd Street, my opponent can't come to 23rd Street. So I might look at their engine and see, oh man, they really want to run 23rd Street. And I kind of want to run it too. So maybe I'll go here to stop them from getting there just for a turn. Because I have to move. In this game, there's only 5 locations, so it's easy to wrap your head around in terms of where to go. But okay, so then I have to move on my next turn, and now it opens up for them to go there next, right? So that's why you can block, but it's never like mean. It's just more like a stall technique. Because sometimes, if you can just stall them 1 turn, maybe they don't have enough money. And if they go to 23rd Street, then maybe they can get like $3, and that's enough for them to then build on their next turn. So if you can stop them getting any money for 1 turn, then maybe you can get the next thing you need, so that way you can beat them to the next pillar or building the next rooftop. One thing I really did enjoy about this game is I'm more invested in what my opponent is doing. I feel like some games, you're kind of just doing your personal puzzle, maybe occasionally glancing over what your opponent's doing. But this one, I really am like invested because I'm like, okay, I need to make a decision, but is he able to put the next pillar on before me? So I'm constantly looking over at their board saying, okay, what do I think they're going to do next? And it's really influencing my decision. So I like that. It's like, you're kind of doing your little personal thing, but you're also kind of investing in what they're doing. So you're not just like heads down and not paying attention at all. So the one thing I didn't like about this game is there's a lot of iconology in this game, and there is no player aid at all. So in my first game, I found myself like buried in this rule book, going through it and trying to figure out what every symbol meant. And it's a little bit frustrating because I think, right, yeah, like one set is here, one set's here, one set's here, and there's some here and here. So it's across multiple pages. So I just found myself constantly flipping back and forth and trying to find it. And I found that pretty frustrating. I just wish there was like a nice printed sheet that just came with the game that just told you what was what. Now, with that said, I did go on Board Game Geek and I did see some people from the community already like copy and pasted it all, made it all in one sheet. So I think for future games, I'm gonna have to print one of those up because without it, it's a lot. I mean, if you play this game all the time, I'm sure you'll start to learn what things mean. But there's a lot of different symbols and different ways to score, and this does this. And yeah, you definitely need to have some kind of reference guide to really do well. In summary, each of these games has something to offer for everyone. I'm more likely to get the Architects of Amytis to the table, mainly because, it's just easier to teach. Once I get past the buildings, like I said earlier, it's not hard to teach the game how it flows. And usually the tic-tac-toe part, I just teach as we go, so we can kind of just get playing. Even the buildings, I find, just teaching how it scores as you play it. Yeah, maybe they don't make the most optimal decisions in the beginning, but it just gets the game going. You know, you don't have to waste a lot of time up front with a big teach. And with Kuiperium and Flatiron, both of those games are just going to be more of a challenge, right? So that's what's tough about, you know, best when we get to ranking these games. Like, is it games that I, you know, that I just know I can play with people, or is it games that I love and I just got to find the right people? I don't know, that's always a thing to consider. I think with Flatiron, once they get past the iconology, we could potentially get someone, you know, there's someone who's like into gaming. I think that would be an easier one than Kuiperium, because there's just less decisions to make, and there's also no hidden information. With Kuiperium, you know, they have to keep cards hidden, and they have this little secret lab thing we didn't really talk about, but there's also that going on. So there's things that, you know, they have to just show you what they have for you to help them. But with like Flatiron, you know, everything's open information. So it's definitely an easier game to kind of play and teach, you know, as we go. So it's that time. We're back at the blue screen of goodness. And, you know, these are the first 2-player only games I played so far. And I have a category for that, so I don't need changing categories right now. But question for you though, you know, should I be weighing these games in other buckets? Like, you know, Architects of Amytis is a pretty welcoming game, so do I put it in the welcoming bucket as well? Just let me know. Let me know. Should I keep the 2 players only completely kind of in his own bucket or not? Just, you know, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So ranking these 3 games, it's harder than I thought. I'm really struggling right now. This is the first time I think that I don't have a clear, like, yeah, this is number 1. So right now I'm putting Flatiron number 1 now. This all could change. Mainly because I only played it once. My first play, I just have this like bad memory of constantly looking at the rule book. So I think if I have a few more plays and we get the icons down and we have like reference aid next time, I'm curious how smooth it is and seeing it, does it stay as, you know, above Kuiperium, or does it kind of drop below? Mainly because my Kuiperium experience, I want to try to play with other people if I can eventually, because, you know, like I said, my one friend, it just takes too long. Like the game, I don't want to play the game for 2.5 hours. If that game was like right at an hour, I think it would be like perfect, because then it's just making quick decisions, quick things. So right now I think it's hard because I haven't had that ideal situation to play either game yet. So, but with that said, you know, Architects of Amytis will probably be number 3. So Flatiron, Kuiperium, Architects of Amytis. And that's not to say it's a bad game. It's probably the game I want to play the most right now, because of all the 2-player only games I have. We'll be adding more to the list. You know, that one I don't know. It's weird. I still undecided about this one. It's like, it's good. It has puzzles, which I like. I like the little. I don't know. Maybe it just feels like it's missing something. But even then, I'm gonna keep playing it. But we'll see. We'll see it long term. We'll see where it lands. That's why I'm doing this. I really have no clue. It's a lot of fun to kind of figure this stuff out. Of course, I just want to thank you guys again for joining us on this journey to play 1,000 games. We're getting closer. I mean, we're still, you know, probably a little less than 2% away, but 2% complete. But hey, that's half the fun. I'm enjoying playing games, and I hope you guys are enjoying kind of following along and enjoying the journey. But yeah, please down below, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we will see you in the next video.